guys, we're Evan and Katelyn, and today we're going to make DIY metal and wood marquee letters.
This project's really special to us because we made the first set for our wedding, and it's also the first DIY project we did together, so crazy.
We posted a tutorial on our blog back in 2013, but we still get a lot of questions, so we thought a video would help.
Let's go!
For materials, you'll need 3/4 inch plywood, 6-inch flashing, stain, nails, super glue, some scrap wood, and globe string lights. For tools, you'll need a jigsaw, a drill and spade bit slightly larger than your light socket, a nail gun and or hammer, a sanding sponge, sandpaper, metal snips, a sturdy putty knife, and a yardstick.
Before we get started, we're going to make a few things that'll make this build easier.
First, we're going to cut some 2 5/8 inch blocks out of scrap 2x4s. These will hold up the letters to the correct height for nailing in the metal flashing later. We cut another piece of scrap wood to be 3 3/8 inches high. This will help guide us where to nail through the flashing into the plywood.
This may seem like a lot of upfront work, but it's going to make this a lot easier to build and harder to mess up.
We made printable templates for every letter and linked to them below. We printed our letters, taped them together, and cut them out. Then we taped these onto the plywood and traced them. Before removing the template, we used a center guide to mark the center of each hole. You can use a center punch or a nail.
Then we drilled holes through these marks. This is where your lights are going to go. Drilling can damage the wood when you exit, so either drill from the front or drill from both sides and meet in the middle. Then we carefully cut out the letters with a jigsaw, drilling a hole to help us get to the hard-to-reach spots of the E. Next, we gave it a quick once-over with a sanding sponge and some sandpaper. All your edges will be covered, so it doesn't have to be perfect. We finished them off in a min-wax dark walnut stain.
The first time we made the marquee letters, this was definitely the hardest part. It was difficult keeping the plywood centered with the flashing and nailing in the right location.
This is where the guides that we made are going to come in handy.
First, we'll measure each segment of the letters. This shows us where the flashing needs to bend. Put on gloves before handling the flashing. It is sharp. We started the flashing at the bottom of our letter. To make a bend, mark a line, then place the metal on something soft with give. Place the edge of a thick putty knife against your mark and hammer to create an indentation. Bend it at that indentation and then tuss fit it before making the next bend.
Keep making bends all the way around your letters. Make sure you pay attention to whether the corner is bending in towards the letter or away from the letter. And if you mess up a bend, you can just hammer it flat and redo it. Once you've gone all the way around the letter, cut off the excess metal but leave just a little bit of overlap. Next, you can attach the flashing. Place your letter on the blocks we made earlier and they'll raise it up to the right height. The height guide will show you where to nail into the plywood. We're using a nail gun this time, but last time we used a hammer and finishing nails and that totally worked too. If a nail goes through your wood, don't worry, just pull it out and touch it up with some stain. We added a nail about every 1.5 inches, and we used super glue on a few spots that were too tight for our nail gun or a hammer. We carefully applied just a little bit and held it together with some scrap wood and rubber bands. The final and most satisfying step is adding the light bulbs. If you have to backtrack on a letter, do every other hole going one direction and then fill the empty holes on the way back.
Thanks for taking the time to watch our video.
If you want to see more, make sure to subscribe and click that little bell if you want notifications.
And if you have any questions about this build, let us know in the comments below. Bye! At this point, we could probably just like
Fade to black.
fade to black.
I'm kind of thinking the same thing.
All right, that's it.